Hello and welcome to sim.bc, where it right now is 12:54, so just about 1 o'clock soon. Yes, indeed it is. And if you can see, I'm not at home yet again. I am in school. Woo! In a nice little, what you say, locale. And yeah, I have my gym clothes on me because today I was about to wake up at 7 and go to the gym. But since we studied so long yesterday, that didn't happen, so I was off course. Led to me waking up at around 11 o'clock. I just went up, took some breakfast, studied a bit, and then headed for school. And that is where we are right now. Yes, indeed, we are. So that is why I'm in my gym clothes, because I was thinking about why not go to the gym after class, so I could just, pop them on right now, save myself some time. Going to start with a bit of a different discussion than is on the title probably. It's probably going to be something in relation to glass cliffs and glass ceilings. But first I would like to discuss a minor point, right? A minor point. I don't know if you remember that I made a Ben & Jerry video a couple of days ago, video 99 if I'm not mistaken. I think I'm correct there. Hopefully I am. And that has been corrected now in school, which is all fine, all good. It was quite quick. I was quite happy with it. But the problem was, or I don't know if it should be a problem, but let's say it like this. There were some clear differences, right? In structure and in quality and approaches to how people did this assignment. But the grades does not reflect that. If we say it like this, if you put together all of the points gathered by all the different teams, I think we're 6, 7, 8 teams, something like that. And you put them on a range, so the highest is highest up and the lowest one is at the bottom. There is about a 6 or 7 point differential between the highest and the lowest score. Now, that is kind of weird, because there are some scores which I would say, and this is based on 40 in total, and yet from the highest to the lowest there's only a 6 score differential. I would say that there are some assignments in there that shouldn't have been passed, but now all of them were, which leads me to think that there was a bit of a biased grading going on. Not gonna toss any shade towards the school, could be an individual professor, could be that I'm completely wrong. This is all from my point of view and my perception of it all, but it seems like there was a bit of a grading biased process going on. A biased grading process. What do I mean with this? Well, basically I meant that all of our grades happen to fall around, or all of our marks happen to fall approximately around each other. So let's say that the teacher was grading us from 0 to 20. We got most of the people got around 14. Now there were one group at 17, there were one group at 11, but in general all of them were around 14. And then we also combined this with the individual presentation we did in class, and then you put them together, and then the differential between the highest and the lowest one was only 6 points. That is, as I said, based on 40. So that was kind of strange to me, because I thought that based on what I've read, because I have access to some of the other people's reports, and I was just like, dude, you're not gonna pass, are you? But they tend to get equally as much points as we did. Now I know that I might seem salty, that I really hope that that is not the case. What I mean is that there are some projects which should have not passed, in my opinion. Is ours one of them? Up for debate. Probably. I'm not gonna say yes. I was quite happy with the turning that we did, but arguably you could say that ours shouldn't pass either, depending on how harsh you will correct, because we missed to have a designated discussion point. We instead discussed throughout the entire report, because we felt that was a better format, that was a bit of a creative choice. Now, depending on how harsh you correct it, you can say, well, you didn't do as we said, you missed out one of the 10 titles and you used it in your own way instead, hence you will not get the full marks, hence you will fail. Now, I'm fine with that if that was the case, but there was a lack of motivation to why we got the grades that we did, which made me feel like kind of confused. So I reached out to the teacher and said, well, I can't quite get my head around why all of us have gotten a score between 10 and 15 when there is clearly such a big difference in both approach, quality, and actual, and criteria is used in order to establish our critique or review of the reports. But according to the teacher, basically said that, well, you were all above 10 because under 10 is not a pass. And I was like, well, shouldn't there should be some that didn't pass because based on their projects and whatever and whatnot, in my opinion, yet again. But he didn't seem to agree. Now, he's the teacher, so hands down, he's probably correct. He has more experience than I do, and yeah, well, the final examination is going to be the biggest contributor to our grade anyway. And I would like to say that it's in all of our interest that more people pass. If you only care about grades, which I tend not to, I tend to care more about justice and that the procedure is correct. Well, if you tend to lean more towards just grades, it's in our interest that more people pass, and that they get lower scores. Why? Well, because we're going to be graded, and at this school we're going to be graded based on how other people in our class performs. So yet again, it's in our interest that more people pass, but that they receive a lower score. However, I still don't think that that is correct, and I would be more happy if I saw a more, what you would say, just approach to how they were corrected, even if that means that we should have gotten a lower score and a lower grade, possibly even fail. But I think that would be better, instead of just lumping us all together and say, well, all of you were at exactly the same point, basically, even though there were such a different quality approach and criteria as I stated. But yeah, it's just my opinion. Sorry, I'm moving on way too much into this. This is probably going to be included in Title 2 then, the bias of grading and my short opinion on it. But now let's move into glass ceiling and glass cliffs. But the good thing is that we can cover this quite quickly. You can actually cover this probably in like 2 or 3 sentences, but we're not. So, start with glass ceiling then. Glass ceiling, what is it? It's not an actual glass ceiling, it's a theoretical term that is meant for minorities that in a company, when you work, right? You tend to want to get a promotion, right? You want to be acknowledged for your performance. However, for minorities and women, why do I say minorities and women? Well, because there are more women in the world than men, so technically men are the minority, but yet they seem to be the majority in the leadership of corporations and boards and stuff and that, and etc., etc. So, hence, minorities and women. Yeah. So when you tend to want to move up in the hierarchy, if you're either a woman or a minority, what tends to happen is that you reach your, what should we say, invisible limit. You can't go any further than this. This is like your top. And I know that people are actively working against this. This is something really bad. This shouldn't be the case that, one hand washes the other, or one hand helps the other, and that you only promote people that look like you, feel like you, and behave like you, but that you instead get a very diverse leadership in the corporation. So that is why many corporations today is trying to actively mitigate this, but still the term is based on that there is an invisible limit for how high in a corporation both minorities and women can, what you say, progress. And then the glass, and that is like the glass ceiling. Then the glass cliff, if we're just going to make a nice segue and keep within the reasonable time limit, the glass cliff is that if a woman or a minority were to break through the glass ceiling, that is most likely due to them breaking it by not acting like either a woman or a minority. What do I mean with this? Well, let's take a woman for example. There are some traits, unfortunately, many actually, who is either feminine or masculine. That's an entire video approach by itself, but the basic idea is that for a woman to break through the glass ceiling, she have to act more manly, more like a man, more masculine in her approach in order to break through this. Take certain initiatives, act in a certain way, care more about the outcome, whatever or whatnot. I don't quite into that, but they should act more masculine anyway, in accordance with our course literature. But what tends to happen when you break through and you get up on the higher levels is that the other people there might look at you and they say, well, you're a woman, yet you act like a man. That's kind of weird, isn't it? Which leads to them falling down again, getting depromoted or whatever. They can't stay there, or they're getting fired or something else. And if they tend to act like a woman once they're broken through the glass ceiling, then yet again the other people might say, oh, why are you so girly? That is not how you should behave. So either you're confirming the stereotype, which is not seen as good, or you're contradicting the stereotype, which is also not seen as good. The same goes with minorities. If a minority breaks through the glass ceiling by acting not in accordance with the stereotype that they have been, I don't know, given is the wrong word, but that is perceived them to be that people perceive them having, that stereotype. If they contradict that stereotype, they will yet again might break through the glass ceiling. But then it happens to when they go up above this glass ceiling, people will only say, well, you don't act like you should, which will make people not at ease. They will make people uneasy, and then they will get depromoted again. Or if they act like the minority, people will be all like, why are you acting like that just because you should, and this is not natural and you shouldn't do that. Even though if they wouldn't have done it, it would also be a bad thing. So the glass cliff is a double negative for minorities and women, that if they pass the glass ceiling, there is no wins, there's a lose-lose situation, because if they pass it, well, you pass it for a reason, and that reason is probably not good, no matter the reason. I don't say that this should happen, in my opinion, since I don't view... I need to really choose my words carefully here. Since I don't perceive racism, inequality of the genders, minorities to be a problem, from my point of view, I know that it is. I know that there are some people, a lot of people, who tend to have very strong feelings about this. I would call them idiots, to be quite frank. But for me, I have a very hard time discussing some of these problems because I can't quite recognize that it would be like that. You know what I mean? So reality is in one way, but my perception of how things should be is so contradictory to this. So in my world, as I view it, a glass ceiling doesn't exist, because I see no reason why a woman can't be promoted to top management, or why minorities couldn't. I think that most people think this way. However, it's the unconscious, the cultural behavior, yet again, one hand washes the other. You tend to promote people who are like you, who look like you. But in my opinion, I would say that that's not something that I personally, consciously think that I would do. Hence, I have a very hard time discussing the problem. However, most people don't think like that. Yes, again, making it very hard to discuss the problem, because most people think like me, probably, hopefully. But they still might tend to act in a certain way that contradicts this. So yeah, that's glass ceiling and glass cliff. I hope that I made my point very clear, and I hope that I didn't offend anyone with my statement at the end there. What I mean is basically that racism and stuff like that, bad. It shouldn't be a thing. I don't think that there is any difference between us. We're all human, right? It's easy as that. You should behave in the way you want to. But that's going to go into another discussion about my take of stereotypes. It's probably going to be a video coming up quite soon. But yeah, now I'm going to go in and study, because it's study time. Woo! Exams. Yeah, said no student ever. No one was that enthusiastic about exams. So anyway, yeah, have a nice one, and I'll see you tomorrow.